Okay, could you repeat the question again? Sorry, I just started the recording.
Yes, my question was in Scrum, we
Mm-hmm.
have ceremonies like meetings to
Mm-hmm.
meet and like explain what's going on, what's happening. But in Canva, you said there were no ceremonies, or
Mm-hmm.
it might be like once a month. So I want to know how they do solve their problems in Canva.
Right. Good question. Anybody want to try that question? After I said,
I don't know.
no, you're gonna try, mommy. You know you're my godmother. That's why I'm calling your name. Mommy, share.
Yes, so
You
man.
want to try that question? So she's asking that, in Scrum, right? We have these ceremonies. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
ceremonies are also known as meetings, or you hear some people who call them events. They all mean the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So in Scrum, we have these ceremonies, from the sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint retrospect, and the sprint review. All those ceremonies, but like I said, in Kanban, we don't have those ceremonies. So how do they do their own meetings? Anybody want to try? Okay, let me shoot. So, like I said, in Kanban, they don't have ceremonies, but they might have just like one kind of, say, like a planning meeting. It's not time box. So that's why I said that there's no ceremony, meaning there's nothing. You're not gonna hear like, oh, we're doing this project for 2 weeks sprint. We're doing this project for 1 month sprint. We don't. Nothing is time box in Kanban. Once we say we're doing this project, we come up with the stories and then we put them there. Once we start it, when we finish it, that's when we finish it. There's no time box like, okay, this project is gonna take us 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But however, before we start this project, we have to plan it. The whole team will meet. We'll look at the stories, we'll look at all those tags, and we'll put them on our board. That's our to do, what we intend to do. And then as a team again, we'll start moving the stories to the development columns. And remember, it has to be 4. Again, the team decides, let me rephrase, the team decides stories how many stories they're going to move from this backlog and bring here. So if they decide that it's 5, it's going to be 5 at all times in here, same as for the other one. So there's just one planning meeting, right, that the whole team sits and meet and then look at all these user stories. But guess what? There's somebody like, technically like a product owner, right? I don't want to use the word product owner, so they don't have it there. So there's just going to be one person who is coming with this project. So this person bringing this project, let's say we can call him a product owner, but we don't want to use that word in Kanban, because what we're using is like we're giving roles now. So, and then everybody's going to look at all those user stories that are in the backlog. They're going to estimate it. They're going to, you know, they're going to size it, everybody, and then they're going to make that decision as a team. All of them are going to make that decision as a team. Again, there's no time box. That's why we have this time. When they're done, we're going to have this time. They're going to calculate this time. How long does it take for the team to go to the backlog and remove a story and throw it in the development stage? Like when they start working on the story, say that they pick out the first 4, right? And they start working on them. And then you see the movement to the done. We still have 4 here, then working on the rest 3. If they happen to move this one in the done here and then move it to the testing, it means they're gonna go back to this backlog and pick out one again and drop here. So how long will it take them to do that? That's what you calculate, like, as you're progressing. How long are they, moving from here and then pushing it out to the testing column? You want to calculate that cycle time too. One thing you're gonna know. And then You also want to know how long it's going to take them from the time they start to the time they finish to the time they finish all the story points in the backlog. So if you guys meet as a meeting and then you guys decide, okay, let's start knocking out these stories on Monday. Monday is your start point here. And then y'all start knocking it out. Whenever you finish, you know the time when you guys finish. That is called your lead time. That's the time that has taken you guys to complete that whole project. So that's how kind of Kanban operates, but with
Why
no
my
rule, no ceremonies.
okay, I have a question.
Right. Let me. Did I say a question?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was very good,
if
but yeah,
Yeah, Masha P.
go ahead. What I was gonna say is, so in that case, what exactly, how exactly is Kanban like, because you said you will tell your recruiter that you will introduce Kanban to the system and all
Right.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but if, well, according to me, I think that Scrum will be more effective because everything that is planned is time is kind of like giving you, like, okay, we have 2 hours to complete this, we have 1 week to complete this, and it makes things move a little bit faster and effectively, versus Kanban, where, I mean, you have to finish the project, then go ahead and now calculate how long it took you. People might be lazy and just not doing. How do you monitor that people are doing what they're supposed to do on time?
That is why it's a good question. Good question. That is why we say one of the values of Kanban is transparency, right? So this board is available for everybody to see. Picture it as a blackboard. You guys have this big blackboard in your office. Everybody, when you pick a story that you're working on, you write your name on that story. John, I'm working on this, so we know John is working on that. If we come today, that thing is still there. He's still working on it. We come Wednesday, he's still working on it. Everybody is seeing it, right? Everybody in our team is seeing it. We can see how we are progressing. We're seeing what each person is doing. And we can there like ask questions like, man, what's going on? Why are you not delivering? We can start asking questions to ourselves. So everybody can see what everybody is doing. Now, the thing with Kanban and Scrum. So Scrum, you want to use Scrum for complex projects, right? You cannot use Kanban for a complex project. It's not gonna work. So that's why Kanban is used just for little fixes. Like I said, for example, bringing Kanban to your Scrum or taking some of the things in Kanban and introducing it to your Scrum will you want to look in a situation where you might be just doing some little fixes in Scrum. For example, say you're working on a project in Scrum, and then you guys go to the testing phase, right? No, you guys say you're done with the project, right? And then the customer, they've released the project. Now you go through the phase of user acceptance testing. Now the users now it's out there in the market, right? They're gonna test that product to make sure it's working. Remember, we're talking about the defect, one of the metrics of Scrum. Remember the defect where you'll be, they'll be calling. I bet you if there's a defect with that phone that you guys produce and somebody buys that phone, they will call customer service. Man, this phone, this thing is, what is wrong with the battery? The battery keeps dying. When they call in, you guys are noting those errors because it's going to help you guys to like know that, okay, this thing, because you cannot catch every default. You bear with me. You cannot catch every default from the beginning to the end. Something is going to slide through. That's why when the user now starts using it, they keep giving this feedback. You guys are noting this feedback. Now, when you guys want to do these fixes, it won't be advisable to go, although you can still use Scrum to go do those fixes, but guess what? It will be more easier just using a Kanban to do those little fixes. So see, we use Kanban to do like little fixes for simple projects that are simple, like okay, they're trying to work on this, uh, they're trying to work on this rear camera of this Toyota vehicle, like these vehicles that have cameras in the back. So they try to work on that one. That's just a little thing that they can do, you know. So they're not gonna want to waste time and go use Kanban. I mean, Scrum. They might decide to wanna, just use Kanban and do that. But remember, they're just using that framework to track how they're working. But the environment which the developers are using to build whatever code they're using remains the same. You see what I mean? So you want to use Scrum for complex project. That's what Scrum is used for. Complex project. Kanban is used just for simple projects and little fixes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other question? That's a good question. Good questions. And then I remember I talked about this priority lane, right? This priority lane is one, assuming you're in a Scrum environment, you're in a Scrum framework kind of operation, and then the product owner command the customer, he wants that you people should do this like within the next 4 hours. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna say, okay, let's go do sprint planning? Let's go do no things like this. Kanban best accommodates priorities like this. So you want to like, okay, let's just use Kanban and knock this thing real quick. You know, just do your board if you have your Kanban board. So if you're a Scrum Master and then you walk into that organization, they're using Kanban, good. If they're not using Kanban, introduce it and then just design a little board on the wall by the side and leave it there. Whenever there's a need, you just drop it down there and then talk amongst you all and then decide to get some few people to go and be working on that priority while the rest continue doing what they're doing. So priorities will best suit Kanban. It won't suit for Scrum. Although you can do it in Scrum, but Kanban will be the best way to handle like things like priorities and emergencies and stuff like that. So just some of the things where you can you see for normal projects like regular projects, I mean like simple projects. For expedited projects, you have projects that need to be expedited like now. Stories that have fixes, like what I was talking about, fixes, intangible projects. You want to use Kanban for those kind of projects. You can remember you can still use Scrum, right? If I decide to go to Dallas, I can decide to go through 35, Waco, Temple, Waco, and then keep going. As well as I can decide to go through Austin, then go by and come back and go get to Dallas. All I'm still gonna get to get Dallas, but one way shorter. You see what I mean? So Kanban work for setting kind of projects and Scrum.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
So
you. Well
that brings
understood.
yeah. Um so some of the differences between the two, like just coming to what we mean. So with Scrum work is done within a time box, time box sprint, generally 2 to 4 weeks, right? And the goal is to produce a potentially shippable product after each sprint. We can ban there are no fixed time sprint. Instead, teams pull out tasks from the priority backlog and then have them done. So what is saying, like, if you guys are working on a project that it doesn't require any rush, any emergency thing, do combine with it. Put out release on a particular cadence, which is determined by the sprint length. So a team may release every 3 sprint or every 6 weeks. So in Scrum, well, going back what we did, like when do you decide when to release a product. When we talk about releasing a product, what we're handing over to the customer, that's what release means. When do we release this product? So you got the team would do that calculation and decide, okay, we want to be releasing this thing to the customer every 3 sprint. After every 3 sprint, let's give it to the customer. Maybe after every sprint, let's give it to the customer. But we can ban release occurs continuously. As they done, bam, they're giving out. As they start working on this one, they're giving out. Say this phone has 4 defects. Customers are saying, man, the battery keeps running low. Or the memory, I put 2 music, it's already full. All those little defects, we can dump them in our backlog. When we start one, we finish maybe the battery thing. As we're done, we just ship it out to the customer. We're done with that one. We go to the next one, we just ship it back to the next one. So that's what Kanban does. There's a on cross function, heavy focus on cross functionality. Teams have no specific roles. Everyone is a marketer. With Kanban, team members are specialized and pull tasks related to their areas of expertise. So what is it saying? Remember we're talking about cross-functional team in Scrum. You have all these people kind of working together. Or you might have a team, right, that is just fully developers. But let me take an example. You can be a teacher, let's say a teacher. You went to school to teach geography, but you know something about maths, you know something about biology, you can teach it as well. You know something about physics. That's what cross functionality means. Like these people in the team should have an idea of doing kind of everything, you know. But we can ban if we say we want just these people. These are people we're working on this particular task. We want people who are testing. Okay, let them just test this part. That's what Kanban is saying. So spring kickoff, it's another different spring kickoff, daily stand up, all these ceremonies. There's an emphasis on continuous improvement of process, meaning we don't have these ceremonies in Kanban, but we have them in Scrum, all these ceremonies. Remember, you hear them, they'll say ceremonies. They might call them events, or they might call them meetings. What are the Scrum meetings? So they mean the same thing. So sometimes you go to this interview, these people will confuse you like, which meeting
Wait,
yeah.
please say that again. You said what is the same thing?
The Scrum ceremonies, you know the
Mm-hmm.
Scrum ceremonies, right? The sprint planning, the
Mm-hmm.
daily Scrum. It will mean the same as sprint meetings. You hear some people call it sprint meeting
Okay.
or sprint events, right? So I had somebody when the interview was confused. He said we don't do meetings, Scrum meetings. We do the ceremonies. They're like, what? Funny, right? Okay, Crystal framework. So this is just another kind of framework. Remember, we've looked at Scrum, we've looked at Kanban. There's another type called Crystal. So yeah, like I said, Scrum is the most popular, right? Followed by Kanban. However, it's another advantage for you as an applicant to let the recruiter know you have an idea of a good number of these frameworks. And one of the things that go kind of in your resume too. So Krista is an agile framework that focuses on individuals and their interactions as opposed to processes and tools. Processes and tools. Remember, it's only waterfall that relies on processes and tools. Agile focuses on the individuals and their interactions. So every agile framework will fall under this manifesto, individuals and interaction. So it also focuses on projects that are life critical. So life critical projects are kind of like projects that are not like you know like of priority, you know, stuff like that. Projects that are not like essential. They're important, but they're not like essential enough. So that's what they will use the crystal environment, the crystal framework. But I've rarely seen organization using crystal. It's rare, but it's one of those things just to know. Crystal clear can be compared to for teams that are up to 6 or 8 co-located developers working on a system that are not life critical. So in the Crystal team, remember in a Scrum team is from 3 to 9, right? So with the Crystal team is 6 to 8 that are co-located. Co-located means they are in the same place. All these developers are in the same place. You now have a situation where one person is in New York, one person is in Germany. With Scrum, that is possible. You might go to a team and you have some developers that are in India, some are in New Jersey, some are in Texas, where you are. They'll be everywhere. They must not be in the same office. But Crystal is the one that says they have to be co-located. Crystal Clear is also can be a viable framework for organizations that want to empower their team to work wherever they think it's most effective. So those organizations that kind
Okay,
of yeah.
please excuse me.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's nothing showing on your screen though. I don't know.
Oh, you can see?
I mean,
Can you
I
see?
don't know.
Can you see my screen?
But the screen doesn't. It doesn't.
It's not changing.
No. Do you have a
Yeah, there's
PowerPoint?
no display. There's
Yeah.
no display. It's
There's no
just
slide.
Okay, let me stop sharing and go back again. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay. The slides.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Can you see it?
Well, yes.
yes.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
can see it now.
MTN. MTN has started this thing again. It's MTN. Yeah. Okay. So Crystal Clear, let me just kind of summarize what Crystal Clear really does, right? So Crystal Clear, it means like projects that are like clear, the word clear, crystal framework. So you hear the word crystal clear, it's one of those words that I've used frequently with the crystal framework. So it means projects that have no complexities, projects that does not have any, like, how do I put it? They are like simple and clear, like the word crystal clear. They are like clear and detailed as possible. There are no complexities in those kind of projects. Those are good to use like crystal framework when working on projects like that. And you hear that they also talk about uh, life critical projects. These are like projects that even if you mess up, right, with some of the codes, like the developers, remember these developers, they're the ones, everything is them just building codes. So in crystal clear, even if the developers mess up, like in building the code, somebody's trying to build a code and then does but something else and then mess up the whole thing. Even if they do that, it cannot affect the overall project. So only crystal clear kind of accommodate these kind of things. So there's got to be no complexity in their projects, as well as life critical. As it says, it focuses on life critical projects. So like projects where A is working on something, B is working on something, and then say A is developing a code and then mess up somewhere, it's not going to affect the overall project, what the others are doing or what the team is doing as a whole. It's not going to affect it. So that's what crystal clear kind of does. And it has a core belief that crystal is what drive crystal. The core belief with this kind of framework is that the developers again are given the leeway to kind of do what they want to do, which is crazy. That's maybe why most people are not fun to implement it. So you won't find a lot of organizations using crystal clear. You won't. And crystal clear if you see a team, you work in an organization, they tell you this team is crystal clear. Instantly, you should tell you that that team has 6 to 8 people co-located and working on a system that are not life critical. Yeah, they'll tell you this team is yellow. Yellow means they have 10 to 20 people in that team. You hear they say another team is orange, crystal orange, means that 20 to 50 people in that team. Remember, Scrum is just 3 to 9. Scrum says you have to be 3 to 9, but these people are going up to 50. Red say the team is 50 to 100. And also know with scale, which is the next framework we'll be looking at, agile scale, when you have 50 to 100 plus people going upward, it tells you it's scale agile. When you have 50 plus going upward, it tells you it's scale agile. So we'll look at scale, and these are some of the properties of agile. These are some of the properties of agile. So you want to concentrate on the mandatory projects. It says they frequently deliver. So in Crystal framework, they're frequently delivering. They also, there's room for improvement. There's always room for, you can mess up as many times you mess. There's always has room for improvement. There have to be continuous communication between the teams. They have to communicate continuously. So this pretty much these 3 mandatory properties kind of make this framework very peculiar. So again, it's one of those frameworks you rarely see people use it. Rare. So, but those who use it, they say it has some advantages. They say it allows the team to work the way they deem most effective. Imagine you allowing the team, you guys do whatever you want to do. And then by the end of the sprint, you realize that, man, what A was doing, the guy was probably building his game, not doing what he wants to do. Time wasted, resources wasted. But those who use it are saying it's good, man. Give the developer, let them do what they want to do. Those who use it also say it facilitates direct team communication, transparency, and accountability. Like we said, there's direct communication. Crystal framework says you guys have to communicate all the time, communicate consistently. And whatever you do, it has to be transparent. Everybody has to know what you're doing. Reason why they have to be co-located. They have to be in one place. So everybody see what everybody's doing. The teams are able to adapt to changing requirements. Remember, this is agile. One of the manifesto says we should be adaptable. So it's gonna apply to everybody, every framework under agile. So, some of the disadvantages, they say this lack of predefined plan. Predefined plan can lack to scope creep. You guys remember the word scope creep? You guys remember this word I used yesterday? I think I put it in the discussion too. Scope creep. I said if you look at your spring burn up report, when that curve goes up, it means that the product owner added something, right? He added a story. Or when you see that arrow, that curve goes down, it means he removed something. He removed a story out of the production thing. That's why you're gonna see that curve going up and down. That's what they call scope creep. So they say this is one of the things it causes in this kind of framework. There's going to be a lot of scope creep, removing and putting, removing and putting. Somebody will mess up with a code. You can't leave it there. You're going to remove it. So you see that curve will go down because they're allowed to do whatever they want to do. So you should expect to see crazy errors and stuff like that. And because they don't meet to plan like in Scrum, where we sit and do our sprint planning, they don't meet to plan, so it causes a lot of these defects too. There's lack of documentation can lead to confusion. There's no way they can document in Scrum. We can document in our conference. when we go to Scrum, there's a feature they call conference. Conference is a way you can communicate with your team. You can put notes, you can put documents, you can put a lot of things there and share it. Everybody can access it. It's just like having a Gmail kind of group kind of thing where you put documents and stuff like that. Everybody can go and add, see things. So this kind of framework don't have that. There's no documentation. Whatever they're doing, they don't document it. With Scrum, one thing you want to do as a Scrum Master, right? When the developers tell you they're done, it means they've finished with that story point. In as much as they go maybe to the physical board and move the story and put it in the done column, they just go and put that sticky note from in process and then put it under the done column. You want to make sure that they also go to their Jira and move it there also. When we go to Jira, you see the board, the blackboard. You want to make sure they've moved that story to the done column. And another thing you want to make sure that they do it also when they move it to the done column, you want to tell them, just put an attach, maybe like a screenshot of your code, what you did, and put it there. It's a good way of documentation. Just have them take a screenshot of the code they did and put it there. It will help a lot. What if something crashed? What if the bot they are using kind of crash or something, or it's infected? You can always fall back to that document they did and then just move from there. This is one of the things you want to make sure they're doing also. Once they tell you that thing is complete, okay, can you take a picture or a screenshot of your code and then upload it in Confluence? And again, whatever they upload in Confluence, everybody can see it. It's transparent. Any question so far? Bandwidth. Remember, I used the word bandwidth yesterday, right? So bandwidth, it allows for each team member. It's allocated for each team member in the sprint. So bandwidth, like, okay, we're about to start this sprint. Everybody has an equal. It's not like there's gonna be now in a team. You can't say, oh, okay, this person is more skilled. This guy is an expert in developing, so we're gonna give this guy more tasks. This guy is new to let's not give him more tasks. You can't say that in your team. Again, you as a team have to decide what happens, who is doing what, or how you guys are doing. And so your capacity that you have, remember we talked about capacity. You want to always calculate that capacity for your sprint. If our capacity was, say, 100 hours for that 2-week sprint, we share that. I call it our bandwidth for that sprint. So we share it among ourselves. So you want to use your bandwidth when you're doing what we call the swarming. Remember I talked about swarming. Say developer A is working on a story, right? And he's kind of blocked. He doesn't know what to do. He's like, his brain is freeze. You want to ask the other developers, like, hey, those of you who have more bandwidth, you still got some more time on your hands, can you guys join and help this developer A and knock this thing out? So that's what bandwidth is used for. And it's used when mostly they're doing swarming. Okay, so this framework is as important as Scrum, and it has its own certification. I still don't have this certification yet. So Scale Agile, you hear they call it SAFe. Some people call it SAFe. I call it SAFe. So it's called Scale Agile Framework. So remember, like when we're doing the quiz, I said 50 persons and above is falls on that scale. So scale team, if the team is 5 to 100 team, like if you walk into an organization, they're working on a project and they have 5 to 100 teams working on that same project, That is a scale. You cannot do that kind of project in a Scrum environment. Or you might have 5 to 10 teams. Remember, they're working together on the same related product. You might have, if you don't have 5 to 10 teams, if you have 50 to 125 plus people, that is a safe environment. That is not a Scrum environment. So these are the two ways where you can know if this is a scale, agile scale environment, or this is a Scrum environment. So if you walk in there, okay, we're working on this project, and you realize that, man, there are 5 to 10 teams. That tells you there this is a safe environment. This is not Scrum. Or if you go, the people working on that same or related project, there are 50 to 120 plus people. It's a lot of people. That one is a Scrum. It's a safe environment. Scrum cannot handle it. It's too big. So, and then also bigger projects. If you have a bigger project, it can be handled in Scrum. It's going to be handled in Agile. Let me think of a bigger project. Say we're trying to build, like, let's say, an aeroplane. That's a crazy big ass project. Oh, sorry, that's a crazy project, right? Like projects that are big. You can't do it in Scrum. You want to do it in a safe environment. That's why you need this more team. That's why you need this more people to put their heads together, and so you guys can work on this project. So projects that are so big, you want to do it in Agile. Support multiple teams working together. So this is these are the situations where you use scale. And remember, when you have 125 plus people, it's called a DOMA number. So this 125, right, is called a DOMA number. So they ask you what is 125 in a scale environment. 125 people working in a scale environment. What is that called? It's a DOMA number. DOMA number. That's what they call it. 125 DOMA number. So just like in Scrum, so Scrum handles lightweight project. So lightweight project doesn't mean they're not complex. Remember, Scrum is good with complex project, right? But if you compare scale, agile, and Scrum, scale will be looking at what you're doing in the Scrum as, man, that's some light kind of project. We're doing some really big projects up here. So likewise, Crystal or Kanban, they all handle like light project. However, in scale agile, we still have the same kind of things that happen in a Scrum. We still have our ceremonies. We still have our roles, like the Scrum Master, the Product Owner, and the developers. We still have them in a safe environment. Remember, we have 5 to 10 teams. So now, in safe, right? Remember, in Scrum, we call them Scrum teams, right? Scrum teams. In safe or agile, permit me to be using the word safe. Safe. In safe, we call them agile teams, not Scrum teams. So you don't want to go. I'm using the. If you use the word Scrum team, it's still correct, very correct. But they'll be looking at you like, man, they say go to Rome, do what the Romans do. So in a safe environment, that's the jargon they're using. They're calling them agile team. They're not calling them safe Scrum team. But they all mean the same thing, right? Like we say, our Scrum team is composed of these 3 roles: our product owner, our you, the Scrum Master, and the developers. That's our Scrum team, right? In a safe environment, we still have that again: the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the developers. But we're just calling them agile team. You see what I mean? We're not calling them safe team. So the name is just changed. but the components inside remain the same. Is that clear? Are we in the house?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So um, those those who implement Save, right? Those who have been using Save or started using Save, they believe that when you use Save, there's more engagement. There's more engagement when you use Save. 10 to 50% happier. Everybody's happy. Everybody's engaged when you use Save. Also, they say the time to the market, the time you guys get this product ready and ship it out is faster in a safe environment. Likewise, productivity, how they delivering, how they knocking out these incremental products every sprint. It's 20 to 50%. It increases productivity. Likewise, the quality. There's In a safe environment, you're gonna have fewer defects. You're gonna have fewer defects in a safe environment than in a Scrum environment. So these four factors, they say, oh, okay, if we use a safe environment, that's what we're gonna enjoy. That's what this is saying. But this picture is kind of small and confusing. Let me go to something else. So SAFe has 9 principles, just like Scrum. Scrum has 12 principles. Um, SAFe has 9. So, a interview question, they might not ask you name all the 9 principles of SAFe. They might just ask you how many principles do they have. So, just know that they're 9 and then know them. Like it take an economic viewpoint. It applies system thinking. Assume variety, pressure options. So you just want to just know these different, but rarely will you see that they will ask you, these people that told me, rarely will you see they will ask you, what are the agile principles, because they won't even know. But just they know that it's 9, right? They know it's 9. They know agile is 12. I mean, Scrum is 12. So likewise, you want to know that save is 9. When do we implement save? So when do we implement save? You walk into this organization and they have this project ahead of them, but they don't know which framework to use. Do we use Scrum or do we use save? You wanna let them know, okay, if we have 5 to 10 people, 5 to 10 teams, we've created 5 to 10 teams, man. That there is safe. It's no longer Scrum. If we have to do this project, you guys are giving us 50 to 125 plus people so we can work together to finish this product. That there is no Scrum. That is safe. When there's an increased dependency, so when you have increased dependencies as a result of 50, when you have 50, imagine you have 50 to 125 people working together on a similar project. There's bound to be increased dependencies than when, say, you're working in just a little Scrum environment. Increased dependency means A might be working on a code. He can't proceed to the next. He'll be waiting for B to finish without his code before. So you're bound to have these dependencies. So when you have these dependencies, SAFe recommends that when you have this, there's a need for increased collaboration. You have to collaborate. You have to coordinate, as well as you have to align. Align means you have to, make sure you're knocking out the most important one before the next important one. Kind of like prioritization. And there's supposed to be more visibility. So when you're having a lot of dependencies. Safe there is the best environment to accommodate that. And safe environment, it's it's one of those environment. Even when you're looking for a job, right? If you're looking for a scrum job, if you see a job that says we need it, looking for a scrum master to work in a safe environment, you as a scrum master, you can still work there. Oh. It's the same. So you are doing the same thing that you'll be doing if you were working in a scrum framework. The difference is that certain things have changed, right? Imagine you have, remember, Agile says we should have 5 to 10 teams. 5 to 10 teams. It's supposed to be 10 here. We have 5 to 10 teams working together. How many product owners do you think we're going to have? Can somebody so how many product owners we're going to have? We have 5 to 10 teams. We are all working together towards the same product. How many product owners do you think we're going to have?
1.
Who agrees? Who disagrees?
I think 1 too.
Okay. So we're going to have 1, but I don't want to, that 1 person, we don't, in save, you don't call that person product owner. But let me just make that comment. There's going to be 1 person who is overseeing. But remember, this, you have your 5 to 10 teams, right? Assuming they just come, okay, you are, oh, Michelle, I need your scrum team. Francine, I need, bring your scrum team. Again, bring your scrum team. You come in with your team. Guess how many people you pulling? I'm pulling my product owner. I'm pulling my development team members too in my team. We come. I meet these other people. I meet these other people. So realize that each of those 5 to 10 teams, you're gonna have 10 scrum masters. You're gonna have 10 product owners, and you're gonna have a lot of these developers, right? But now, when we go to the agile ceremonies now and the agile roles, you're gonna see that there's a main person who's controlling all those product owners. It's like their product owner. Likewise for the scrum master, there's gonna be 1 person who is controlling all those scrum masters. It's like the scrum master of the scrum masters, right? Same for the developers. There's gonna be 1 person controlling them. So in, like, remember in Scrum, we talk about sprints, right? In Agile, we're talking about product increment, program increment, PI. So we'll be talking about we'll talk about first PI. You know yet words like first sprint, second sprint. You see, like I said here, I'll explain what this train means. As a matter of fact, let me explain train before I go back. So we have what we call the Agile Release Train, ART. It's how they abbreviate it. Agile Release Train. So in Scrum have these trains, right? It has this train. So what is this trying to say? I give an example, right? So you have 3 different teams, right? We are all working on the same project. 3 different teams. We're all working on the same project. Now we have to go for a meeting in Dallas, right? If team A gets there first, if team A gets there first, they cannot do anything without team B. Likewise, they cannot do anything without team C. You understand? All the teams have to be there before anything can happen. Which is best for them to go? Would it be best for all those 3 teams to go on a single train, or each to go in their own bus?
I think it would be best for them to go like a team on 1 train.
Right. So this is what Agile is saying. Now we're having a lot of these teams. So let's put a number of teams under a train. Let's put a number of teams under a train. Let's say, okay, we're putting these 4 teams. These 4 teams will form a train. These other 4 teams will form a train. That is what the agile release train is talking about. So the agile release train is just a multiple of agile teams, right? When you have a multiple of agile teams put together, that's what we call an agile release train, ART, an agile release train. They're doing the same thing, they continuously delivering, you know, they continuously delivering. An agile release train is it's a virtual organization of 5 to 12 teams, or 5 to 10, 5 to 10, that's supposed to be 10, 5 to 10 teams. So that is agile. I've said a lot of things, so let me break it down again. Agile, in agile or safe framework, right? When you have 5 to 10 teams, then it tells you this is a safe environment. If you have 50 to 125 plus people working on the same, remember they are working on the same or related product. It's not different products. They are working on this in safe environment. You guys are working on the same or related product. So agile says also now, okay, we have all these many teams. Because I'm sure you might walk into an organization that they're doing a safe environment, doing their sprint planning meeting. Imagine how many people, it's like a football field. Imagine all these people. So when they're having their sprint planning, just imagine all these 100, everybody has to be present. It's like a football team, football field. So Save is saying, okay, we can group these teams, right? We can group these teams and put them under a train. Let's take these 5 to 10 teams, put them under one train. Let's take these other 5 to 10 teams and put them under one train, right? So a train, like in Scrum, we'll call it a sprint. I mean, a train we'll call like a team. So in a train, we'll use the word product increment, PI. Product increment. For example, we'll say first PI, second PI, third PI. In Scrum, we'll talk about first sprint, second sprint, third sprint. You know, we're using the word sprint. It's the same concept. The names have just changed, right? So in safe, we're talking about program increment. We're talking about program increment, right? In train, this is just the difference between the two, so you know. Remember, Scrum is time box. In sprint, we say it's 2 to 4 weeks, right? Anything above 4 weeks is no longer Scrum. Same as in our training scale, it's time box. It's 8 to 12 weeks. So Scrum is 2 to 4 weeks. Save is 8 to 12 weeks in a sprint. 8 to 12 weeks for a sprint. So I don't want to 8 to 12 weeks for a PI. Let me be doing that differentiation. 8 to 12 weeks for a PI. So in a train, we have what we call a product increment. Remember, a train is a number of teams coming together. They form a train. So these teams that have come together, they're working on the same product. Remember, these teams that have come together, each of them still have their normal product owner. They still have their normal Scrum Master, and they still have their developers, right? But now they've come together under a train to work on a product. So they are working in program increment, which in Scrum we call them sprint. But in Save, we're calling them PI, program increment. We said in Scrum, it's time box, 2 to 4 weeks. In Save, it's time box, it's 8 to 12 weeks. In Scrum, we talk about the product backlog, right? The product backlog, our basket of all the ideas. In our train now, guess what? We have the program backlog. We have the program backlog. We don't have a product backlog. We have a program backlog. That's what we have in a train basket of you know. Now a question comes up: are all of these teams that are in the train, are they going to have different product backlogs, or they're just going to have one program backlog? No, let me rephrase the question. These teams that have come together to form this train, are they going to have any product backlog?
Yes, they're going to have a product backlog, so they'll know on what to work on, and they're going to work as a team.
Thank you. So to explain more on that, remember, your team have just come, right? You have your team. Your team has its normal, its traditional things that they used to do in the Scrum. It's like we're just moving this, assuming this is our Scrum thing. We're just moving this, our thing we used to do, our product backlog, and bring here. Remember, we are now in a train. Each team has its captain. You might have a football team that has a number of teams. Team A, they call it Team B, Team C. But all these teams have a single coach. So we are now saying that we have our train. Every PI will be 8 to 12 weeks, right? And in our train, we have a single program backlog. We have a single program backlog. But now the teams within this train, they have their individual product backlog. So what will happen now when we go to our sprint planning? This is what happens when we go for our let me not call it sprint planning, our program planning. Remember, in train, it always goes by this program. They always use the program. We go for our program planning, just like the sprint planning, right? Where each team now will be, okay, this is what we'll do. Remember, doing the sprint planning, the developers, they pick what they want to do and put in their sprint backlog, right? So in the train, when we go to this sprint planning, we are now choosing what we want to do, and we are putting in our team's product backlog. Are you getting it? We are pulling from the program backlog. The program backlog is the train, right? But now each team is pulling what they will do in their Scrum team and pulling it and putting in their product backlog. Are you guys getting it?
Yeah, yes.
Our product, so another different, so remember in Scrum we said the things that are in the product backlog, we call them stories, right? Stories, story points, stories. Now in the train, they'll call them features. They'll call them features, but it means the same thing. They're just changing the words. You see what I mean? So if you hear the word features, you shouldn't like, oh, what is people? It means almost the same thing like stories. But this is what goes in the program backlog. Now, in a product backlog, let me come to product backlog. You're not only gonna see just stories. You're gonna see a lot of different. Imagine you have a basket. You went to the market and you come back with this big basket. It has a lot of things: tomato, pepper, everything. But you've decided, okay, I want to prioritize my backlog so that these developers start working on my tomatoes first. You know. Same also with the program backlogs or even the product backlogs. You hear the word epic stories. So epic stories are the biggest stories. It means those stories are too big. They call them epic. So is now below epic is what we call features. Features are big stories, but they're not as big as epic stories. Then the smallest of them are all called stories, the story points. So this is how they graded user stories. So the smallest are the user stories. So you have the features that are in the program backlog. So they go there, they pick their own stories from these features and put it in their backlog. So each team does that. Now the roles now in the train. Remember in Spring, we have our roles, right? The Scrum Master, the product owner, and the developers. Same thing here in the train. The train has those same roles. We have what we call the program manager. The program manager oversees the backlog. He's like the person who has a, you remember like this in Scrum, the product owner oversees his product backlog, right? So in the train, the person who oversees this backlog, who prioritizes stories are in the backlog, who writes these stories even, is called the program manager. So remember I said you come in with your team, you pull in your product backlog, this person bring their own. They all come together in a train. All these product manager, all these product owners, they have a bigger boss. He's called the the program manager. Exactly. So in a safe, in the train, the person who oversees all the product, who oversees the program, I keep using product, the person who oversees the program backlog is the program manager. So they use this word program a lot. Like I said, in Scrum, we talk about sprint. In the train, we talk about program increment, which they abbreviate as PI. First PI, second PI. PI means program increment. But in Scrum, we call it sprint. First sprint, second sprint. So yeah, so the program manager, he oversees the program backlog. Now we go to another role in the train. It's called the system architect. This is you might call it senior or lead tech, right? Senior architect. Remember, you've come with your Scrum team now and come to be in that train. You've come with your developers, right? This other person has come with his own developers. They don't just want them to be, just there, be acting as if they're working in a crystal framework where there's no everybody just doing what they want to do. So they decided that we're going to make somebody who's going to be in charge of all of you developers. He is the one who's responsible for the technology. Imagine in a situation where Irene is coming with his own team, and then Michelle, Francine, everybody come with their own team. Francine say, for us to do this project, I want us to use Oracle database. Irene say, no, man, let's use uh, Sunflower database. Michelle said, no, let's use this other. Everybody is just, so who are they going to listen to? So this is what the role of the system architect is for. He decides which technology all these developers are going to use. He's like their own boss. You understand? So this person who is in charge of all of them in the train is called a system architect. Remember, we talked about the program manager. He's in charge of the program backlog. Technically, he's in charge of all the product owners. And then we have the system architect. He's in charge of all the developers, all the development teams. Then we have now, we got our Scrum Masters, right? Every team has a Scrum Master. There's a senior chief or lead Scrum Master. This person, they call it the release train engineer. So when you hear this word, the release train engineer, just know that they're talking about a safe. And this is the person who is in charge. So depending on how you will do in your little Scrum environment, where you will, facilitate all those ceremonies, the sprint planning, all those things, make sure the developers are doing what they're doing. Now in a train, this is what this guy is doing, the release train engineer. When you guys go to your PI planning, remember in Agile, in Save, we're not calling sprint, right? So I'll be using that word PI. PI, it means sprint. So when you guys go for your PI planning, he's the one who's going to facilitate it. When you guys do, like how you have the daily stand-ups in the Scrum, there's also something they have in the Save. He's also there to make sure these people are doing what they're doing. He's doing all this at the level of the train. But when it comes down to your team, you're also doing your role as a Scrum Master in that your little team, also making sure these people are doing what they're doing. So a picture, you guys go to your planning, right? The program manager he brings out the stories in the program backlog that he's prioritized. These are the stories that I want us to work on. Now, each team is picking what they're doing. The developers are picking what they're doing in their own team. Oh, team A, team R, these are stories that will work. This one, they say these are stories that will work. So again, when now you guys go at the level of your team, you as the Scrum Master, you still have your normal traditional roles to do. But now when you guys are working at the level of the train as a whole, this guy, the release train engineer, he's in charge of, making sure things are happening. He's in charge of moving impediments at the level of the train. Remember, you have all these multiple teams working together. There's a dependency. You guys are working on a story and your developer tells you, man, this story is depending on another story that team Irene is working on. What are you gonna do? You, the Scrum Master in that team, you're gonna walk to him, the release train engineer, and tell him the issue that your team is having. He's the one who going to resolve that impediment. So he's doing the same thing you're doing at the Scrum Master at the level of your team down there, but he's doing it in a bigger picture at the level of the train now. So similar thing, that's what he's doing. When you go to all your ceremonies, maybe your sprint review or retrospect, he's the one facilitating, not you. You do your own at your own meeting, right? So this is what although I'm still gonna come there, let me just rewind quick. So in the release train, I said all these ceremonies are still there. Let me pick one. You guys do sprint retrospect, right, at the level of your team. Before you go to this meeting, his own meeting, you want to first of all have your sprint retrospective meeting, right? And then from whatever things you guys come up with, right? Remember who can remember what are the things that are said during a sprint retrospective meeting at the level of the Scrum? What are some of the things you guys do at the level of your sprint retrospective meeting?
We look on what went wrong and what went right.
Right. So you're looking at all those things. So you want to look at them at the level of your team, right? And then whatever decisions you guys come now, when you're gonna take it now to that his own meeting. Remember, not everybody can go. You can go by yourself, the Scrum Master, or you can go with a developer there or somebody, you can decide. You want to go by yourself, okay, you want to take somebody. But however, you want to go there with your own report. What you guys did, you don't want to go there that you've not hold your own. No. It's like a precondition. Your own has to hold first. Anything that happens in your sprint has to hold first. Take for example, like a spring demonstration, right? He's gonna have his own tool. So you guys don't want to go there. You guys don't want to go there to his sprint demonstration when you guys have not done your own. Because when you guys go to his own, guess what? You guys are gonna showcase what you've done down there. So you want to make sure you've done your own sprint demonstration down here before you guys go to this one. Remember, at the level of your team down here, you have your stakeholders too. When you come to the level of the team, there are bigger stakeholders. We're gonna see who those people are called. So this is where we are now. They call them the business executive or the business owners. These are the people who are providing the funding for the agile release train. They represent the customers in the train.
Mr. Paul, there's
Yeah.
no displays on the screen.
Oh,
It's just like.
Irene, you keep touching this thing.
No, I didn't touch anything.
Oh, it's not you. Oh, thought it was. My bad. Thought it was Irene touching. Dallas people, we like to. Irene is my Dallas sister, so that's why I'm keep picking her. Yeah. So, can you guys see? Hello. Can you guys see the slide?
Yes, I can
Yes.
see.
Okay. Sometimes maybe it's when the network disconnect, that's what happens. Sorry about that. Okay. So I was talking about, remember at the level of your team, right? You have the customers, right? Whom you have to do your demonstration to them, these people. You want to do that before you go to the bigger event that happens in the train. At the level of the train, there are bigger customers now. These people, they are called the business executive or the business owner. This guy who has a Facebook, what's his name? Anybody know his name? So anyway, his name is not important. But you know, like in this kind of meeting, that's where you see those kind of people. The people who own the business. These are the people who are say, okay, I'm releasing this money for you people to do this thing. These are the bigger customers up there. They call them the business executive or the business owners. These are the people that they call. So I know I've said a lot of things about this train. It's kind of confusing, right? But the summary, let me summarize it. What happens in safe environment? So safe, like I said, if you're working from 5 to 10 teams, that there is a safe. If you you might be working with maybe 4 teams, but guess what? How many people are involved? You have 50 to 120 plus people. That there is a safe environment. It cannot be scrum. So safe is saying with this multiple team, we can put this number of teams, 5 to 10 teams, we put them together. We get this other 5 to 10 teams, we put them together. So we'll put them under what we call train. They will be under an agile release train. That's how we'll put them. And agile is saying that don't call us scrum. Don't call, like, in your scrum, you call them scrum teams. Call us agile teams. Like your normal scrum teams that you have in your scrum. Just don't call us scrum teams, call us agile teams. It's like you calling a doctor an RN. You're like, you crazy, call me a doctor. So that's what the safe people are saying, call us agile teams, don't call us scrum teams. Agile is saying, don't call us sprint, don't say first sprint, second sprint. Say program increment. Say PI, they abbreviate as PI. Our first PI, second PI. Don't say first sprint, second sprint. Don't use that word in a safe environment. Safe is saying the person who manages the program backlog. Oh, safe is saying everything we have in our backlog, we call it a program backlog. We don't call it a product backlog. We call it a program backlog. And the stories are inside. We call them features. We don't call them user stories like it's Scrum. So safe is also saying that the person who manages this program backlog, the person who writes these stories, the person who's going to prioritize them, let's call this person the program manager. This program manager is in charge of all the product owners from these various teams who are coming together. Save is saying we are having all these development teams coming. There might be a conflict when we decide we allow them to decide what to do. Team A might say, let's use this database. Team B might say, let's do this one. So Agile says, Save says, I'm going to give you guys who is going to be in charge of all of you. And he's going to be called the system architect. He's the lead technician. He's the one who's going to decide which technology you're going to use. He's going to be the one who make decisions, that are central to the development of this project. Save also says we are having all these different many Scrum Masters. I'm going to put somebody who's in charge of all of them. There's going to be somebody who's going to be in charge of the program level ceremonies. And let's call this person the release train engineer. He's like the chief Scrum Master. So Save is also saying, I know that you guys at the level of your Scrum teams, you guys have your stakeholders and your customers who you guys do your demonstration to, and you're working for. But in our train environment, let's call these people are our business executives. These are the people who own the business. These are the people financing the business. So let's call them business executives. So these are the roles that you have in a train. Any question? Any question? Negative. Okay. Y'all want us to take a break, 5 minute break, or proceed?
Please, let's proceed.
Let's proceed. Who? Okay. How do we prioritize the program backlog? Remember, in Scrum, the product owner has to prioritize his product backlog. Remember, you as a Scrum Master, that's not your wahala to prioritize his backlog, right? That is the duty of the product owner at the level of the Scrum. Now we are in Save. Remember, we're Save. So we have a program backlog, right? And we're saying the person who is in charge of this program backlog is a program manager. He's in charge of this backlog. He's the one who's going to prioritize the features that are there. He's the one who's going to decide which features he wants us to work on first. So in Save, in order for him to do that, they use the technique they call the WSJIF. WSJIF means weighted shortest job first. That's the technique he's gonna use to. That's what he's using. So it's just for you to know what he's doing in the back scene. He's using this technique they call WSJIF, weighted shortest job first. So what does WSJIF means? Let me start with an example. Imagine you have 3 cars, right? And you've made a decision to sell 2 of them, right? And these 2 cars that you want to sell, one of them is parked in front of your garage in your house, and the other one is parked in a public parking space where you pay like say $2 every night, right? You want to sell these 2 cars for the same price, the same price. Which car do you think you're gonna sell first? Like somebody comes, he wants to buy those cars. They're the same cars. You're selling for the same price. One is parked in your house, and the other one is parked in a public parking place where you pay $2 parking fee every day. Which car are you gonna sell first?
They wanna pay $2 every day.
Right. So this is what this technique is saying. The weighted shortest job, um, the weighted shortest job first, which is G. The technique is what it's saying. It's saying that when you want to prioritize features, it's not the easy like wanting to you want to prioritize those features that you're not going to spend a lot of money to work on them, right? You want to prioritize those features that um you're gonna remember. This they have the same value, right? But in order to do these features, some might be more expensive or might take more time to do or might require more resources to do. So you want to prioritize those ones first, right? That's what they call weighted shortest job first. You want to prioritize those ones first. That's what that technique is doing. So that's what the product manager, that's the technique he's gonna use to prioritize his backlog. This is just an idea for you to know what he's doing. So he's gonna do his thing. But just so you know, you might be asked what you know about WixGIF. So that's the technique he's using to prioritize the features in his program backlog. Bam. Don't go and further be explaining. Say like for example, you tell them this story. No, remember, like when you go to these interviews, you don't want to give a lot of information. When you're doing that, you're giving them more room to crucify you. Yeah, just want to tell them with GIF weighted shortest job first is a technique used in prioritizing features in the program backlog. Yeah. Tongue might slip and say prioritizing user stories in the product backlog. They're gonna understand what you're trying to say. They're not gonna crucify you that like, man, you crazy, you wrong. You're right, but you're not using the jargons in that environment. See what I mean? So you want to stick to those jargons in that environment. So that's what they do. And he gets this with G. He has a formula he's gonna use. So it's the cost delay on the job duration. He's gonna use that formula. I don't even bother myself with this formula thing. I leave it for him to crack his head. So, but this is the formula he's gonna use with G. It says cost delay divided by the job duration. How long it thinks this story is gonna take, how long it takes, how costly it thinks this story is gonna cost. So when he divides that, he's gonna get the value. That's how he's gonna prioritize them. Okay, this one is high. This VG value is higher, man. Let's knock this one first. This one is low. Let's knock that one later on. So that's how he's gonna do his prioritization. Factors you consider. Factors considered when prioritizing features. So again, that's what he's doing. Some of the things he's looking at when he's making his consideration. He might be using user business values as as an option to prioritize the features that are in the backlog. So the user business value is saying solutions needed to increase in CTSTA above the product. Solutions needed to increase in the solutions needed to increase wrong word in solutions needed to increase in doing business with the product. So these are all the various parameters he's gonna use. So again, this is on headache. He might use this parameter risk reduction. Okay, which story is gonna be more, it's gonna might give me more defects or might be kind of more complex or time critical. He's gonna take all those consideration and then decide, okay, let me prioritize this story first. Let me prioritize this first. This story is gonna be, man, we're gonna need this story like ASAP, let me do this one first, time critical. So he's gonna pass these stories, those features through these factors, and then he's gonna make that determination. Okay, these are my priorities. So he's gonna do that before you guys go to the program planning meeting, the program increment PI planning. Remember, we have our sprint planning, right? We're now in the train. The train, remember, we said they don't use sprint, they use PI, program increment PI. So when you guys go for your PI planning, he's already prioritized his backlog. Remember, at the level of the sprint, I said one of your duties, one of the things you have to do as a Scrum Master is to assist the product owner in inspecting the stories in the backlog, in his product backlog, to make sure the stories are written in the right format, they meet the inverse criteria and all that. At the level of the train, guess who's going to do that? Is that release train engineer person, the chief Scrum Master person. He's going to work with that product. He's going to work with that product manager to inspect that backlog is ready. So by the time you guys go to your PI planning, you guys are just going to see these stories. He's going to explain these stories with expectations. He's going to, they're going to look these stories. You guys want to check the stories too to see if they're written well, if it meets the inverse criteria, if it has, acceptance criteria, all those things you do at the level of your Scrum, you want to check them. And then your developers will pick the ones they want to do and put in your team's product backlog. That's your own small team's backlog you carry and go. Okay, we've come to this meeting. Like back home, you have this meeting, then during the end of December, you guys go and divide backgrounds and stuff. So you carry your own basket and go back to your house. So that's what they do. You guys go to your PI planning, look at the stories, you pick from his program backlog, dump it in your own product backlog, and then go to your own house. So, yeah, some of the terminologies, the terms used, like I said. So, in Scrum, right? Remember our ceremonies, our events, or our meetings. We have sprint planning, sprint review, sprint retrospect, sprint goals, another thing, the sprint backlog, daily scrum, increment, the scrum team. So in agile, in safe environment, we're not saying sprint planning. We're saying iteration planning or PI planning. That's what we're saying. So you might want to remove that word sprint and put either PI or iteration planning. You don't want to say in a safe environment, man, we're doing sprint review or sprint demonstration. You want to say iteration review. Remember, it's the same activity that is going on. Only the name is just changing, right? Only the name is just changing. Your sprint retrospect, what you do at the level of your sprint. So you want to do your sprint retrospect. You want to do your so. But when you guys go to the program, when you guys go to this planning and pick out what you want to do, you want to now do your own little meeting, right? You don't want to have your developer just going to work. No. You want to come now at the level of your team and then do your sprint planning at the level of your team. So I mean, remember your sprint is time box also, right? We said 2 to 4 weeks. This one is 8 to 12 weeks. So you want to do your own little thing in your sprint, but before you go to this iteration review, you want to make sure, okay, let's have our own sprint demonstration here. Let's see what you guys have been working for the past 2 weeks. Show us what you've been doing. Let's not go to this meeting here and then go and rub ourselves. Let's see what you guys have been doing. Then once you guys do your own demonstration, then you carry it now to this place. The chief scrum master, he's facilitating that ceremony. So he's gonna call, oh, team A, developers, please come and demonstrate to us what you guys have been doing. Your team or your developers will go and demonstrate same thing they did here. They will go and demonstrate in this meeting. Each of the team developers will come and do their demonstration what they've been doing. Same in the retrospect. You want to have your own retrospective meeting at the level of your team, at the level of your agile team. Remember, they hit that word scrum team. You want to have your sprint retrospective at the level of the agile team before you get the scrum master will take the feedback, take the minutes and then come to this meeting because they'll ask, hey, what are the things you guys did well, or what are the things you guys think you guys are gonna improve. He's gonna read that. He's speaking on behalf of the team. Not everybody's going to this meeting. So he's gonna represent the team. So he's gonna carry their feedback and go tell them, oh, blah blah blah. Remember, your sprint goal is what guides you, right? It's what guides the developers during the sprint. The goal of this sprint, these 2 weeks. What is our goal in these 2 weeks? Our goal in these 2 weeks in the sprint is to come out with a shippable product, is to come out with a camera, a working software, a working camera. That's the goal of our sprint, to come out with a working camera. So that goal guides the team as they're working. Are we meeting that goal? Are we working towards that goal? Same also in your train. You have an iteration goal, which is similar to this. Okay, at the level of the train, this is our goal. Are we working towards that goal? Right? Same thing. We have our sprint backlog. Whatever the developers decide they want to work on, they pick the stories they want to work on. Remember, you've gone to this meeting, right? You pick what they will do doing that for the time being of that PI. You've picked the stories put in your backlog, and then you come. They're not gonna work on all of those at once. Hell no. So they in your own agile team planning, they're gonna pick what they want to do and put in their sprint backlog here. So similar thing you have also at the level of save. You have an iteration backlog. Right? You have an iteration backlog. So which are the things they want to work on. So each team, what they want to work on is here in this iteration backlog. So the program manager, remember, that's the guy who oversees everything, right? Everybody, remember, agile is transparent. Team A people can see what is there. Team you guys are working on a common project, so there's nothing for team A should be saying, we don't want to show team C what we're doing. Nope. It's transparency. Everybody's seeing what everybody's doing. We have our daily scrum. You want to have your daily scrum meeting still every day. Likewise, when you guys, so in the train, right? There's daily stand up. You want to have your daily stand up before you go for this. Imagine in a day, it means you're going to have 2 meetings, true or false. Hello? In a day, we're going to have 2 meetings, right? You agree?
Yes.
So you're going to do your team's own daily scrum, and then you make sure everybody updates themselves. Then when they go to this bigger one now, daily stand up, they're going to, hey, they can go as a team, or they can go all of them, or they can decide, let one person go and speak for the team, you know. But however, it's always a Portuguese place. A lot of people, that's why some people are not comfortable working them in a safe environment. They prefer just working them in a scrum environment. They don't want the headache. Having a lot of people everywhere, you know. And at the end of the sprint in Scrum, we have what we call increment, right? At the end of what you've produced in the train, it's called a team increment. It's called a team increment. What you guys have come up with. I would say the Scrum, you call Scrum team, they call it agile team. They call it an agile team. They don't want to call it a Scrum team. They want to call it an agile team. Any questions so far? Yes, no, 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 yes, no.
No.
Agile team. Okay, so same as your Scrum team, you have this in your agile team, same people. You have a Scrum master, you have the product owner, you have your development team. The only thing that has changed is the name. These people, they don't want to call themselves Scrum team. They want to call themselves agile team. They want to give themselves some distinction. So same thing that happens, the same thing in your team. Again, you're gonna have your the same ceremonies in your agile team. Yeah, at the level of your agile team, you're gonna have the same ceremonies. Your agile, your planning, your retrospect, your demonstration, you're gonna have it all in your agile team. But now when you guys go at the level of the train, at the level of the train, you're gonna have those, you know. You're gonna have your iteration demonstration, you're gonna have your iteration plan, you're gonna have your iteration retrospective meeting, you're gonna have all those again. I tell you, in as much as I like safe, right? You ask me, say, to go and work in a safe environment. Think I'll green. Know me. But it's good. So this kind of like a picture of what we've been saying, right? So here you see you have your Scrum Master. You have your these are my agile team, right? It's my agile team. I have my Scrum Master, my product owner, and my development team. These are the level of the agile team. Now at the level of the train, the program, I'm talking about program backlog. I'm not talking about product backlog. So if here I'm talking about uh, product backlog, here I'm talking about program backlog. So, and then we have stakeholders. I'm talking about stakeholders down here, right? The people who we answer to, stakeholders. At the level of the train, I'm talking about the business owners, right? So we talked about the Scrum Master, the release train engineer. We have at the level, these are the level of the train. We have release train engineer. These are the roles at the level of the release train, at the level of the agile release train. That's in safe. These are the roles. So we have our release train engineer. He's in charge of all Scrum Masters. We have our product manager. He's in charge of all product owners, right? And then we have the system architect. He's in charge of all the development teams. So at the level of your agile teams, yeah, agile team A, agile team B, you always give their names. Agile team Gorillas, agile team D. You know, those are agile teams. You know, you have your traditional roles. At the level of the train, so you're gonna have these people. So you might be you can be asked, what are the roles that you have in an agile release train in a safe environment? What are the roles you have in a safe environment? You don't want to be telling them Scrum Master, product owner. Nah, they'll be like, what the hell is this guy saying? At the level of the train or at the level of safe, the roles that you have are these three: product manager, the release train engineer, and the system architect. These are the three roles at the level of the train. At the level of the agile team, you have your traditional roles. So, like I said, at the level of the team, what you come at is the sprint goal, right? At the level of the train is a PR objective. But they all kind of all mean the same thing though, but yeah. Again, similar thing. Agile release train ceremonies, right? Agile release train ceremonies. Remember, at the level of the agile team, at the level of the agile team, we have our, you know, call it sprint planning. We have demonstration, retrospect, all those ceremonies at the level of the team. At the level of the train, we still have them. Like I said, you're gonna have a PI planning, right? You're gonna have a PI planning. Oh, remember, at the level of the team, remember we are in SAFe, we are not in Scrum, so you don't want to say sprint planning at the level of your agile team. You don't want to say sprint demonstration. You want to say iteration planning at the level of your team. So in this picture, this is usually a good picture you can always print and put somewhere in your window, on your desk, or somewhere. Even when you start working, you know, put on your wall or something, kind of like help you kind of summarize everything. So at the level of your agile team, you're not gonna hear like sprint planning. No, what sprint plan? You don't want to use that word sprint. You want to use iteration planning at the level of your agile team. You hear iteration planning, iteration review, iteration retrospect. You know, backlog refinement. You still have your backlog refinement. You still have your daily stand up. When we go now to the train, at the level of the train, we're gonna have now what we're talking about, the PI, program increment, PI planning, which is the same like, you know, iteration planning. So you wanna, when you go to this PI planning, man, imagine everybody's gonna be there. Everybody, you're gonna have 100 plus people. They'll probably be using like microphone there to talk to that huge crowd. So we have what we call the PI planning, and who's in charge of that? That's the program manager. That's where he's gonna bring his program backlog and then tell us on the stories that is prioritized that are in there. And then we have what we call the release agile release train sync. Agile release. Oh, remember this is a time box too, right? This is a time box. Imagine in our sprint planning, we said for a 2-week sprint is 4 hours, right? In Scrum, when we're talking about our 2-week sprint, is 4 hours for the PI for the sprint planning. In the train, PI planning, guess how long it takes? 2 days for PI planning. In SAFe, it will take about 2 days. And then we have the agile release train sync. The agile release train sync. Remember, at the level of your team, you guys have what we call daily stand-up. You're like in Scrum, the daily stand-up. In the team, we have in the team you have your daily stand-ups. But at the level of the train, we have what is called the agile release train sync. Why is it called a sync? That means these two people are coming together. All the Scrum Masters, they are coming together. So this is what you see, Scrum of Scrums. They are coming together. The PO, the product owners, they are also coming together. So the agile release train engineer or whoever is in charge might decide how he wants to separate the meeting. Have one for Scrum Masters only and have one for product owners daily. You see what I mean? Remember, at the level of this, who are the people who are involved here in this daily stand-up at the level of the team? Who are the people that are involved at the level of the team in the daily stand-ups? We are talking at the level of the team here. Who are the people who come for this meeting? For the daily stand-ups at the level of the team? You'll be the developers, right? Remember your Scrum. Remember your Scrum. Who are those who go for your daily stand-up meetings?
Developers.
Right, the developers. They are the ones who go to at the level of your team. Forget if it's called an agile team or a Scrum team. The stand-up there is the same. Remember, just that name has changed. Just remove that that Scrum and replace it with agile team. It's the same thing. Down here is the developers. But at the level of the train, it won't be the developers going there. You have the Scrum of Scrum that all the Scrum Masters are going. All the product owners are going. So in a sync means synchronize. You bring these two together. That's what sync means. You bring these people together. So by this, your Scrum Master, okay, you are a Scrum Master in this your agile team here, right? You guys do your daily stand-up meeting maybe at 8 o'clock this morning. Today, Monday morning, 8 o'clock. And you have a Scrum of Scrum meeting that is at maybe 10 o'clock that same day. When you go to this meeting, what are you going to tell them? You're going to this meeting with the feedback from what these people have said here, right? Reason why you want to have your daily stand-up meeting at the level of your team first. However, they'll always schedule this meeting so that it doesn't clash, or you wanna be flexible too. If they schedule this one at 8 o'clock, you don't want to come and schedule your daily stand-up at 10 o'clock. It won't make sense. You see what I mean? You can bring it down at 7 o'clock. You want to do your meeting before that train meeting. So when the Scrum Master, who is going to represent these people, he might go to this meeting with the developer. Because when he goes to this meeting, he's asked a question about some development thing, he's looking at them, they're crazy. Reason why when you want to go to this meeting, you want to take your developer along, just take one of them. One that is skilled, one is more experienced. Just take him to that meeting so that he's going to answer all the technical questions. You see what I mean? So you want to go there and tell them what these people plan on doing today, what they did yesterday, what your team did yesterday, what they're doing today. Are there any impediments that might be standing on their way to do what they plan on doing for the next 24 hours? So you're going to give that report in this meeting. Same as a product owner too, he's going to come with his own report too in this meeting. It's daily. Just like a daily stand-up, this one is daily. So they call it Agile Release Train Sync. So these two, the Scrum of Scrum meetings. Again, this person might decide, let me break it. I first of all have a meetings with the Scrum Masters. It's called Scrum of Scrum. If you choose to have a meeting with only Scrum Masters, he's going to call it a Scrum of Scrum meetings. He's not going to call it an ART Sync, as an Agile Release Train Sync meeting. Sync means he wants to have a meeting with the two, all the Scrum Masters and all the product owners together. But if he's calling for a meeting for just Scrum of Scrum, remember you're going to see all the Scrum Masters in that meeting. Likewise, it's calling a meeting for PO sync. You're gonna see only product owner. You as a Scrum Master, I don't want to go in that meeting. What are you mad? You know, you want to go only for your own meeting, or yeah. So when you go to this meeting, you want to go give a report on what you guys are doing there. You want to go give your status in that meeting, and it's time box. They are time box. It's 30 minutes. So this exercise here, whether it's Scrum or this, or they are synchronized together, it's gonna be 30 minutes. Right. And then we have also, remember here we have our iteration review, right? In Spring we'll call it, in Scrum we'll call it Spring review. In the train, you have what we call system demonstration. Remember, at the level of your team, you want to do your own iteration review first, right? You want to do it first, then you carry your developers. Okay, go and showcase what you guys have been doing for the past 8 weeks or 12 weeks. Let's go to this meeting so you guys go and show what it's doing. Again, not everybody will go and flock this hall. You can take only the lead developer or choose one person, or take two. One is playing with the PowerPoint or the presentation, one is explaining. It's not you, the Scrum Master, who will go to this meeting and go and be explaining what they did. No, you don't know it. They are the ones who did it, so they're going to best explain what they did. So that is done in the system demonstration. Again, let me skip the backlog. You have our iteration review, right? We have our iteration review, which is the same like our sprint review in Scrum. Now in Agile, our Agile team, it says you got to have your iteration review meetings first before going to their own, how they call it inspect and adapt. And this inspect and adapt meeting, it takes 3 to 4 hours. That's the time box for that. That's the time box for that. Your inspect and adapt meeting is time box for 4 hours, for 3 to 4 hours. So before you go to this meeting, you want to do your iteration review first at the level of your team. Like Michelle said, you guys want to inspect yourself. What you guys did well, what you guys did best, what you guys are gonna improve or change or start. If you want to do that. Remember, when you come into this inspect and adapt meeting, you, Mr. Scrum Master, you have to come and tell them what you guys. You're gonna be the porte-parole for the team in this meeting. So that's why you want to have this, get your feedback, get your points. So when you come, you tell them what your team have decided to do. And again, let me flash back to the backlog refinement. Backlog refinement. This is remember when I explained it during Scrum, is the session where the team can meet, right? And then look at the items, the stories in the product backlog. The advantage of having you go to an organization, they don't do backlog refinement. If you go, they're not doing it, and you propose it, they say, nope, we don't need it. Don't force it. Say, all right. If you guys don't do it, it means that when you guys come to your integration planning or your sprint planning meeting, guess how long you guys gonna be there? Longer, right? So if imagine, let me take a practical situation. You traveling tomorrow, 7 o'clock. You have to leave the house because your flight is at 8. You choose today Sunday to pack your clothes, pack everything, arrange yourself, plan, pack everything you need. And then when it's tomorrow, Monday, you just get up, shower, bam, you're going. But if you don't plan for today, guess what? Tomorrow, you'll be packing. You start packing, trying to, hey, man, where is this one? You start looking for things and be rushing. That's what will happen when you guys don't do, if you go to an organization that are not doing, they're not refining their backlog, it means they're going to spend that whole 8 hours trying to go through all those stories. But if they already had like a backlog refinement meeting, it means they go into that backlog and do those things in advance. Look the stories. These stories look okay, they're written well. These stories have the acceptance criteria. These stories pass the inverse criteria. Okay, we've checked all of these. Good. Mr. Product owner, good. Now when we come to our iteration planning, we're not wasting time going to look again if we meet inverse criteria. We already did that a long time ago. You see what I mean? And you must not do this backlog refinement every day. No. Say we are in a sprint, a 2-week sprint. You guys can do it once a week. Oh, I know. Yeah, you guys can do it once a week. If it's a 4-month, you guys are doing a 4-week sprint. You can decide, let's do it twice a week. Because another advantage when you refine your backlog, you can see that you can prepare, you can artificially doing this refinement meeting, just decide. It means that doing the second sprint or the first sprint, let's say this guy can work on 4 stories. Looking at this backlog, these guys can work on 6 stories during the second sprint. So in your refinement meeting, you can decide already there informally that okay, this is what you guys will do. Prepare for the next 2 to 3 sprints, so that when you go to your backlog, your planning meeting, you're not wasting a lot of time. A planning meeting that was scheduled for 4 hours, if you guys already did your grooming, you guys can knock it out in 1 hour and you guys are done. So that's the importance of in as much as you have your backlog refinement meeting at the level of your team, there's also one at the level of the train. There's also another refinement meeting at the level of the train. Now, refinement meeting doesn't necessarily involve that everybody has to be there. You can just pick 1 or 2 person in the development team, or you want to have everybody to be there, good and fine. But yeah, these are the ceremonies in an ART, an agile release train. So you have your PI planning. Remember, we don't use sprint. At the level of the train, we're using PI, program increment, PI planning. We don't have daily scrum. We don't call it daily stand-up or daily scrum at the level of the train. We're calling it agile release sync or scrum of scrum or product owner sync. Agile release train sync means these 2 people are coming together, the scrum masters and the product owner. When they come together, that's what it's called a sync. If they're meeting separately, this release engineer decide I want to have 2 separate meetings with these people, he's going to call the one for the scrum master scrum of scrum meetings. So if I'm going for a scrum of scrum meetings, know that you're going to see only scrum masters in that meeting. And before you want to go to that meeting, you want to make sure you've already had your daily stand-up meeting first with your team. Then you take the feedback to that scrum of scrum meeting. So every scrum master is going there to report what the team is doing every day as they're doing their daily stand-up. They are doing also your scrum of scrum every day too. The product owners are doing their POC too every day. Then we have our system demonstration, which in your team you call it iteration review. Also, we have so these are all the ceremonies that are involved in that are within an agile release train. Any question?
Yes, I have a question.
Should.
What I don't understand is, okay, let me come with my question. With SAFE, the team meets in the train, right? With different program backlog. Is the team from
No.
different companies?
In the train, remember, you said you made a statement. That's why I had to pause there. You said the team have different program backlogs.
Yes.
No, they have. Remember, all these different teams that come together in a train, right?
Yes.
They are coming under who heads all this. They're coming under a single product backlog, which is called the program backlog. And the person that prioritize, that, you know, monitors this program backlog. We call it the program manager. He's in charge of this program backlog. So there's one program backlog that all these different teams, you come with your team, Francine come with their team, they're picking their stories, they're going to work from that one program backlog, and then they're going to put it in their own small product backlog down there.
Okay, I thought
Right.
everybody is coming with with their program backlog,
No,
and when they come, they give it to the program manager also. Then he comes out with one program backlog.
no, there's just one. So by the time you guys go to this meeting, he has already, remember, he's in charge of that backlog. He's in charge of that backlog. Again, in Save, you guys are working on the same product, right? It might be that you guys are producing, let's say, Samsung 2011. That's the same that's the same product you guys are working on. But now you have these different teams now coming. There's this one big head boy, big prefect in class who is in charge of the whole class. There's this one big prefect in charge of Form 1. Let me put it that way. But you see that Form 1A has its own prefect. Form 1B has its own prefect. Form 1C has its own prefect. But if you put all Form 1s, they have one head boy. So that's what happened. There's one program backlog that all these teams are going to pick their features and then go and drop it in their agile team product backlogs.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
another question.
Yes,
These
ma'am.
teams, are they coming from different companies, or they are coming from one big company but different teams?
Can somebody in the class try that answer? Try that question. Ma Francine, Ma Michelle.
I'm just gonna take a wild guess. They're coming from the same company.
Bam. Same company. Imagine they're coming from different companies. It's gonna be more chaos than it's gonna be more chaos. Imagine, imagine a situation where you have a principal who is in charge of let's say Lycée Bilingue de Limbe, and that same principal is in charge of Kaskumba. Man, imagine the chaos. So all of these teams are coming from the same organization. Like, let me say Facebook, right? Facebook is the umbrella organization, right? When I put this job posting out there, okay, we hiring Scrum Masters. We'll hire them. When you guys come, we have our developers, we have our product owners, we've already done their own recruitment. We've already formed our team. So when you guys come, we just put you guys in teams. So Mr. Scrum Master A, you are in charge of this team, Team Lion. Mr. Scrum Master B, you're in charge of that team. You see what I mean? So they are coming from the same organization.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Good question. Good question. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah,
Okay, let me ask one question. Um, in a let me say in a big company, how many teams can be the highest in the company? Like, okay, this company, we can say, okay, we have like 5 teams. In the 5 teams, we have 5 products owner, we have 5 scrum masters, then we have the developers under them. So what is the highest number of teams we can have in a big company?
Good question. I'll throw that back to the class. Class, help me with that question. She's asking how many teams we can have in that organization working on that same product, right? Okay, remember when I started, let me go back. Let me take my slide back. Remember when I started here, agile release train. If you have 5 to 10 teams, that there you know it's safe, right? That day you know it's safe. So
Yes.
if we have 50, so you can have 5 to 10 teams.
Team. Okay.
Or you can have 50 to 100. So if you have let me say 5 teams, let me say you have 5 teams and there are only 30 people, do we call that safe?
Yes, we call that safe because safe range from how many people you say?
We have 30 people.
No, it's not safe. Safe range from 50 to 125 individuals.
Do we agree, class?
I agree.
I disagree. Why do I disagree? Remember, safe say we should have 5 to 10 teams, right? That means if I have 5 teams, it's safe, right? If I do not have 5 to 10 teams, if I have, let me take one team, right? If I have one team, and guess how many people are in that team? 50 to 125 people. I cannot call that Scrum. I have to call it safe. So these are two different, right? So either you are having 5 to 10 teams, or you have 50 to 125 plus people. It makes it a safe environment.
Okay, I have another question.
Right.
When we say 5 to 12 teams,
Mm-hmm.
in a team, I know in a team, we have the product owner, we
Mm-hmm.
have the Scrum Master, and we have about 9 developers. That's
Right.
one team.
Your agile team.
Yes, that's one team.
Right.
That's the number of people we have in one team.
Right.
And we are talking about 5 teams.
Right.
I think it should be more than 30 people.
So now when you have 5 teams, now you're not looking at the numbers, you're looking at teams, right? If you have 5 teams, you already meet that criteria of 5. Whether there are 20 people all together, as long as you're breaking whatever you're breaking and you have 5 teams. Remember when Scrum says you should have 3 to 9, if you have 6 if you have 6 developers, those is still part of your development. 3 to 9 means that's a range you can pick. You can have 3 developers, you can have 4 developers, you can have 9 developers. You understand what I mean? That's a range how you can pick. So Agile is saying, I want you to have 5 teams. Once you hit 5 teams. If we count how many people are in those 5 teams, they meet 30. How many teams do you have? 5. You are in a safe environment. We can form a train. If we have 4 teams, with 40 people, can we form a train? No, we cannot form a train.
No.
Why? Agile says if I cannot have 5 to 10 teams, I should be able to have 50 to 125 plus people. If I have 50 people, I can form a save, right? I can say I can do a release. If I have 100 people, I can do a release. If I have 40 people, I cannot do a release. I don't call it, maybe it has a different name, but I cannot call it a save. You get what I'm saying? So you either you have 5 to 10 teams that are created, or whichever number of teams that are created, if you count the personnel, the individuals involved, if they are 50 to 125 plus people. That's a save. You can make a train. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Do you understand
Right.
that?
Yeah, understand. It's clear now. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a very good question. Yeah. And like I said, with agile, you don't want to use the word spring. They're using PI. PI. Remember, save, we're using PI or Scrum. We're talking about spring. Okay, PI, spring, PI, spring, PI planning, sprint planning, PI retrospect, sprint retrospect, PI demonstration, you know, and all that. Product program backlog. We're not talking about product backlog. We're talking about features. We're not talking about stories. You tell them stories, they understand what you're saying. But they were like, man, can't you use the jargons in this class? Okay. So PI planning, or just for all what we've been trying to say, the PI planning is time box. Time box too, just like our sprint planning. It's 8 to 12 weeks. You know, typically 10 weeks. You know, it's time box. And this a PI a program increment like a sprint, right? We say a sprint is time box. We can say this sprint is 2 week sprint, right? This sprint is 4 week sprint. In save, we say this program increment, this PI is 8 to 10 weeks. You know, that's how we say it. Then we go to PI planning. We say PI planning, that thing takes 2 days. Imagine you go for a planning meeting, it's 2 days. You can imagine. Okay, look at this picture. This is a sample. See how many people come to this planning meeting. It's a lot of people. And in this planning meeting, you see the development team. They might be your team. They go now and pick. Okay, team A, let's pick our stories. Which one do we want to do? Your developers, remember, they're the ones developing, so they should be the one picking. They go together, like look at the features in the program increment, and then they decide, let's pick this one. That's what happens in the PI planning. Scrum Master's role before a PI planning. So you as a Scrum Master, before you go to your PI planning, you want to ensure that your team attends the program backlog refinement. You remember who is in charge of that program backlog? The program manager, right?
Yes.
So like in Scrum, we say we're going to have our backlog refinement meeting. At the level of the train, we have also a program backlog refinement meeting. That's like we want to look at that backlog before we go to that PI planning meeting. So you want to make sure that let everybody go there. Let everybody go to that meeting. You know. You want to also make sure you as a Scrum Master that your team check in. You want to make sure that your team check on the PI. You know, you want to make sure that your team is ready. That's what I mean. You want to make sure they're ready. You want to make sure that they're knowledgeable to start. You want to make sure they know what they're supposed to do. You want to make sure that your team you want to calculate your team's velocity and capacity. Remember this capacity. We talked about capacity, calculating our capacity during the first sprint. Capacity, what does capacity mean? I'll throw that to the class. What do you understand by capacity?
Can I try?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, capacity means the number of people available the number of developers available to do a particular job.
Right, the number of people, adding to what you said, the number of people available doing that sprint,
Yes.
right? Doing that sprint. So, true. You want to also calculate your capacity. Now, we're working in a safe environment. So, you want to calculate your capacity, how many developers are going to be available doing this PI, this program increment, how many developers are going to be available. If your team has 10 developers, 4 say they'll be available, 60 men, I got other things that will not be available. Me, those who will be available, okay, you want to calculate you, ABC, for these days you'll be available. Which days are you want to calculate their time, and then you sum it all. You sum it all. Your velocity, you might not know the velocity. Remember, velocity is captured at the end of the sprint, right? When the sprint has ended, that's why you know what they actually did. So we cannot know the velocity when it has not started nor it has not even ended. So we cannot know. So, but our capacity is important. We can know it. So, however, you can estimate. Remember, doing the first sprint, you can estimate, right? You can estimate what they will do. And how do you do this estimation? So remember, when they go to this sprint planning meeting, when they go to this PI planning, keep using sprint. When they go to this PI planning meeting now, see, assuming these are your teams, right? They pick these stories that this is what they want to do. These stories might have been sized during the backlog grooming, right? If they did the backlog grooming, these stories must have been sized. Sizing means they're checking the complexity of the stories. Let's give this story a 5. Let's give this story a 2. So if they have done those estimations, size all the stories, if you add up all what each of those stories, their estimate, you add it up, you have what we call your planned velocity. So that's not going to be your actual velocity, that's just going to be your planned velocity, right? What you guys have planned to do, what you guys have planned to do for that PI. But again, at the end of that PI, you still gonna calculate, okay, what did they actually do? How many features did they actually complete? That becomes your team's velocity for that PI. You want to ensure that everyone on your team are invited, and are present. You go to that meeting, John is not there. You gotta pick your phone and like, man, where are you? Everybody was supposed to be here. You're late. Your team members start coming late. Everybody's observing. They're like, man, that team, they always come late. So they're looking at you, the Scrum Master. It's your job. You notice that you're gonna step up and like, hey, John, man, stop coming late. You're making us be a bad team. Scrum Master's role during the PI planning. Now you guys have gone out to the PI planning. What is your role? Your role is to guide your team in breaking I didn't spell it well. The features down into user stories, right? Remember these features, they are I told you everything that is in that backlog is a whole lot of different things. It might be epic stories. Epic stories are big. Then you have features. Features are semi-big. Then the smallest is user stories. So you want to make sure they break those features into user stories. They are the ones working on it, so they will know what to do. So if they pick a feature, they can go into that program backlog, right? It's gonna have stories, it's gonna have features, it's gonna have epic. But if they know there's big developers, they go and decide to pick a feature story, a feature there in that backlog. You're gonna make sure they're able to break it down. It's big, they cannot work on it. It's big, it's a big story. Have them to break it down. I give an example of a big story, right? A big story might be, for example, as a Scrum student, I want to get a 6-digit job when I'm done with this class. That's a very big story, right? But you can break that story into smaller stories. For example, as a Scrum student, I want to attend the Scrum class so that I can prepare for my certification exam. That's one story. Another story, for that big story, breaking down might be as a Scrum student, after having my certification, I want to prepare for or prepare my resume. That's a story. Another one. Another one might be as a Scrum student, after preparing my resume, I want to prepare my resume so that I can then start prepping for, doing interview preps. And then another story might be as a Scrum student, after I've prepared, after I've done some interview preps, now I can be sure to, go for a 6-digit job. You see what I mean? So we'll break that big story into small, small stories. That's how you want them to break it. Again, the developers, these are the people working, so they know how to break their stories. You are there to guide them, like, hey, you guys, is this story big? Remember, when they go to size the stories, a big story, a story has like 21. 21 tells you that story is too big, right? You don't want them to work on that big story. Remember that Fibonacci series, right? So if they estimating a story, they give that story a 21. I mean that story is too big, just like the example I used. So you want them to break it down so that they can be able to work on it. When they break it, it's still gonna meet the same objective, but it's just gonna be an easy way for them to accomplish it. You also wanna help the team to identify risks and dependencies. Looking at those features, are there any risks involved? Are there any dependencies? Look at these stories. When you guys start working on this story, do you guys think it's going to be depending on another story? You want to make sure that the stories they're picking are independent of any other story. So you want to make sure you want to facilitate their story estimation. You want to help them, like when they're estimating the story, you're there with them, see how they're estimating. You want to use the velocity and capacity to create a draft plan. That's for your working tool. And you want to guide them in creating the PI objective. You want to guide them. Remember, the train as a whole has an objective, right? But now at the level of your team, the stories you've picked, you should be able to come with your own objective. So you guide the team in building that. So yeah, we talked of the Scrum of Scrum. We talked of the Scrum ceremony. The Scrum Master, he's like an ambassador. He represents the team. So he goes to that meeting. So also the product owner thing, he also goes to their own. So you might decide to take a developer with you to that your meeting. So that if they ask a technical question, expect him to answer. So the system, these are just the ceremonies. So we have the PI planning, we have the ART sync, that's a agile release train sync, which he can break it and call it a Scrum of Scrum, or a PO sync, or decide to combine the two meetings. So, and then we have the system demonstration. That's where they go and demo. Each of the teams come together and showcase what they're gonna do, showcase what they have been doing. That is done doing that. So this year you see the business owners now will come, those business executives, Trump, all of them will come and sit here now. Okay, let's see. But you want to make sure that before going to this meeting, you've already done your own at the level of your agile team down there, with your stakeholder down there. Then we have the inspect and adapt. That's another ceremony, inspect and adapt, just like the retrospective. At the level of the train is called system and adapt. Same things. What we did best. Same thing, you guys are evaluating yourself. So same thing, PI system, you're checking on quantitative measurement, you're taking on problem solving, you're checking on all of these things. And that's about 3 to 4 hours for that PI. Retired. I can keep going and going. Are we guys flowing?
We're tired.
Oh Lord, no. Actually, that was the last page though. That was the last. So Jira, introducing
Good.
Jira will be, so we're gonna start Jira next week. Saturday and Sunday will be Jira, which is cool. We'll just be doing hands-on. So when you go to
Okay.
that interview, you tell them you've been working again. Oh, this is out of the recording, but this recording. When you don't, even in your normal job you're doing, right? When preparing your resume, I'll help look some of your resume. If you do, you're looking for say a Scrum job, and then you put in your resume all you've been doing. You don't put any Scrum thing that you did, and then you say you just did a Scrum class. You have a Scrum certificate. You're looking for a Scrum job. You think that employer will ever call you? What I'm saying, right? This is an in-house job. Every, I can say 90%, 99% of everybody going for a Scrum job, that first application they do, certain things are added. You agree with me? Because these people are looking for experience. They don't have that time to be starting training you from, like doing the class of Scrum again. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So they're looking for somebody who's already experienced. Reason why you go there, have you worked with Jira? Like, no, they're like, man, you kidding me? So who's gonna train you? However, when you go to that organization, remember there's orientation for every job. They're still gonna do training, but they're acting as if they're not gonna do it. They're still gonna do it when you're doing inboarding. They're still gonna do a lot of this training, like a month or two. If you get a Scrum job, you're not gonna just start getting to your team next week. No, you're gonna go to inboarding. Inboarding might take 2 weeks. I mean, a month. It might take 2 months. Getting used to selling software, getting used to your team. It might take some weeks before you get to the work itself, before your sprint actually starts. So somebody advised me say, anyway, I'll put this information in our Scrum team, this in-house information. You understand?
Yes.
Some in-house information, we'll put it in our in-house contributing. So, yep, so we're gonna end here for today. Next week we're gonna be Jira. So what I would want you to do, please, before you come to the Jira, I have this, I don't know if this one you can invite, I don't know. You wanna create, no, it's free, right? It's free. You just Google Jira, it's free. You wanna go to the free option, just create a username and a password like you're creating a Yahoo thing. Just create one that you can log in. You can log in and go and just look at things around. So during the class, I'll create one which I don't know. I try to see if we all can use it, but it's gonna be traffic. There's gonna be traffic on that one account. So that's why we're just gonna work with the one that I will create, right? I will just walk through. So you see how to create stories. You can go to an organization where you have a high speed product owner, right? He has already created all his stories in Jira. You can go one has not, they're using Jira for the first time. They're like, man, you say you know Jira, help us create these stories. You're not gonna say no, right? You're gonna want to help him create that story. But what's the good news? The good news is you're not the one coming up with those stories. They'll give it to
Right.
you. It's already typed, maybe in a spreadsheet or something. The story is already, your own is just going now and type it, like somebody writes something with a pen and then gives you, help me type it for me. So that's why when I was like, I asked that question when I was doing this thing. I was like, they told me, oh, you'll be giving. I said, thank you, Jesus. Because
I
imagine you
know.
have to start forming that stories. There's a lot of things you have to do when they creating this user story. Yeah, The product owner is not just sitting in his office and okay, let me just be. He has to meet with other people, QA, sending expert outside the company even. They help him to come up with these stories, you know. Then they'll put it together. So, but yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So it's gonna be fun. I love hands-on. Yeah. And
Yeah.
any question for me?
No.
I'll put my questions there.
No.
If you don't answer my
Oh,
question
no,
in the
no.
group, I will be calling. I'll say, hey, my Francine, shoot me the answer for that question. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. And oh, and then either Saturday or Sunday, we're gonna try to knock these certifications. I'll put it in the page what needs to happen. So
Okay.
yeah. Okay. And oh, my chaps, I know I still got that resume though.
Oh,
I'll look at
okay.
it, and if you have your resume, I can still look at it, you know, and adjust it, do it our Scrum way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of Scrum jobs. Seriously, last night, I slept at I think past 12. Messi came and come like the man. You looked at him, like what time? You know, I was busy doing
Mm-mm.
No.
applying. I never get applying. I had I have this alert in LinkedIn and also with Indeed,
Indeed.
as well as with Glasgow, as well as there's another one called Dice. I like Dice. I love using Dice because it has this easy apply. You know the easy apply. You just upload your resume. It's not the one that will ask you to go and type everything again. Ah,
Mm.
yeah. So I'll just there are a lot of jobs. There are a lot. Just
Do
only
you
with
see,
because I was
do
Amen.
working
you
only
see
within
any in
Texas,
this
right?
area?
Say that again.
Do you see any in this area?
In Killeen, I've not searched. You know,
Oh, but
you
do
can
you see
streamline your
anything?
search. But I've seen in Round Rock, I've seen in Austin, I've seen in Waco, in Dallas, a lot in Dallas, in Houston, so San Antonio. You know,
Yes, Dallas,
right.
Dallas.
So I'm kind of concentrating in Texas. So even if it's in somewhere and you know with Scrum, when you finish a project, one project you finish is 7 years experience. You know that
Wow.
when you work
I
on a
don't
project
understand.
when you work on a project in Scrum, right? And once
Yes.
that project is finished, it's 7 years working experience.
Wow.
So you
But
might
what
look
does
at a
that mean?
job, you might look at a
Like
job
when
like
you are hired, when you
wait,
what I don't
let me
understand is
stop this
okay.
recording. Let
Is
me
it
stop the
when you are hired, you work on a
let me stop the recording.
Mm-hmm.
okay.